start, someone asked me to ask you a question. So, and for work as well as power, we have force in it in the formula, and for force is a vector and it has a direction. And why in the case of work done and power, there's no direction involved? Is that a scalar quantity?
Yes. So it's is it okay if I clear the math that's on the screen right now?
되게 안쓰기 진리만 더 해줘라. 대체 줄라 세우 차송해서. 차선을 나봐야라 자르지다. 차선. Yeah, not clear for everybody. I just asked them.
Okay, I'll write in the corner because it's a good question. The mathematics that I'm showing you is not entirely correct. And the definition for work is really, it's the dot product between a force vector and the displacement vector. And dot products yield scalar quantities.
ngasugu telaya mutuchibi kapsa leka sabi kapsa ane shude ane ko jantak jura la jursegore sro jantak jura la jursegore sta jantak jura jursebi kapsa ane ngasugu gang chitante shaja tu stinane tata deyo maris ko chitang monetikare sena lekate shude ngasugu derwa shude ane chombrong ruwa khasro jurwa de gana tata chigdwa 아니 잔타텔라 양코 촌브롱이고 당가스디 가서 네포텔라 고고도와 초카와란 루니 됐다고도 코니 차게 주톱스 값스 아니 가서 다 촌브롱이고 집이 값스 적당도 마스나 니요레와 다데 값스게 섭베시 땅에 됐다 dot product 스도와 차타 집이 주토티레스 척게 줄고는 그 주토티레스 척게 줄고는 그 주토티 페치 땅샤나 아니 디 값스 코로니 줄고 주토티 아니 초맥이 벌써지 작레스.
And so I tried drawing over here. In these lectures, we're only dealing with the force in the same direction as the movement, but often it's this case where the force could be at a different angle than the direction of motion.
단단가 쪽에 진단하는 것도 지역에 비춘 상황이 나와야 슈데 아니 그 가서 그러다 니포게서 그러다 장세가 가속당 예빠지라야 아니 차샤대 땅아 속은 진단한 지역에 또 세요레스 임바이나야 또 뮤스가 속에 따바 임바이나 슈당 아니 거기에 다 장타게 주란로야 주로와 이거 바로라야 그런 저 가속식과 많이 받지 들은 이거 바로라야 설제치래기요레스.
And in these cases, the mathematics works out that it's F delta X times the cosine of that angle between the force and the direction it moves.
단단하게 딘다로그네 단칠 해봐이나로와 슈당 안에 그 장탄 이거 바로라야 설세칠 해봐이만은 네가 값을 리카지에 슈데 아니 장타 그줄 아니 때 아니 코란 이거 바로라 요비게 설세 때게 테라지오로와 때게 코스 테타 때게 좋았던 소고요레스.
I apologize for partially lying to you. It's just the textbook that I was told to use.
제출라야 강기 대시장 담발라야 지체점 제출라 점마시요레 tel라야 니 gond아시기 스카시라 바이나 아니 록테고 강라야 다나시 아니 군데시 지샤스.
Related to the question, a classic example is if you have like a lawnmower, you push a lawnmower and it has the arm and it's your force is applied basically along the arm, but the lawnmower moves that way. That those are these complicated situations.
다 단단 디너 도 인주게 아니 걸서거다 비춘 걸서거다 디너 도 인주게 녀터 차오게 비춘 현다지샤 바인바나 가속에 zatbiage zabjage tuchisto garwa lokpag bijag tanga chidoga tikasi baina chorang bijag tambi kapse korang ta lokpan jusa chigora ti ju de tan ko saksa chili de tan ko gala lepyorwa imbaina ya zanjage tuchite kun druatin dnogla shajan rugorwa tin stambala ya ko ge ndakasugure da lekachiwa te shuda ani ko ge jantha te ge netan te lai tis nyokta chawge ani pichinchi didoro res.
So I was just trying to draw it while you were describing it. I hope that might have helped clear it up, even though it just introduces more complications.
I think they're clear. We can move on.
Okay, so I'll stop this share. I think I can go to that. You now see that screen. Oh, no, not yet. Now I think you see the slides.
Yes.
Okay, so this is where we were, and I just wanted to do the mathematics right at the end there to show where this kind of final equation down here came from.
That being also soton goma caps some shasati deche that de jelaya all a big nyamsinde Canada chil hemende any chil hetanting to chichibains.
And it might have helped perhaps with why we define kinetic energy this way.
That day deshe jabala tene any chichena yansula asuge guchugu dimpatin dinner chila yachin deshe jaguni put sending dinner shagun with jinsente hakwala chichena payuses.
So let's look at an example to compute the kinetic energy of a 3 kilogram cart that is moving at 4 meters per second.
That alanga sugan guchugu nibatsjage yenswa any kilogram some changing recursion jokse any kachachkana meter she's drugo by bana any tege guchugu nibakasores.
So I should have mentioned what the units were for kinetic energy. Maybe I skipped that.
I think so. You skipped the unit, but it will be fine. You can explain better. I think most of them know that the unit of energy is joule.
Ooh, there could be a question as to what the squared acts on.
대 간다 정서 제수 대시에서 지자 차서
24 joules. 24 joules. Those jena jur kare sum churuk de jur churuk sum gi jur
24.
Yes, 24 joules.
하나절에서 답당 조ul 뉴스타시레스
Okay. So we will move on. It's just a exercise of computing that. And the mathematics that I showed you in why we define kinetic energy the way we did is also known as the work energy theorem.
한다 단다게 맞추긴 그쪽은 뉴바디 간다도지 예멘데 지단다 던탕시여로와 어디 던비기 진진지데 가르레세나 얘기 가서 준니게 남셔 제세데 레카지라 레카도 뉴바야나 준니게 남셔데 첨베지요레스.
And one thing to keep in mind about work is even though it has the same units of energy, it's really the transformation of energy from one form to another.
한다 레카 세데 값이 지송이 고치 레카타 뉴바니샤게 지시 조울인 바로다 지파 여바이나 양데 값이 지송이 고치라야 레카 세데 아니 뉴바 찌니 뉴바 첸다기 모라 주르비기 값이 임바테 아니 삼분항이 로치스.
And the mathematics that I showed before the break showed that the work equaled the final kinetic energy minus the initial kinetic energy.
한가서 발생경에라야 가리테요스나 레카 세데 아니 구춘이바 타마기 구춘이바나니 투민 구춘이바 템바톤 송바데 테이스.
And so that is actually the statement of the work energy theorem, that work done on an object can yield the change in kinetic energy.
한다 단데 되게 아니 가서 순니가 남셔 됐던 거래서 아니 게티 미부지 간라 데베 레카들라 테니데티 아니 거기 그쪽은 이번 저와 당트요 봤던 거래서.
dawa
Yes.
kunzo kache gange angzi de ja she samare di dreshe jaro chedalabs di gange angzi de chumde de kashe di ma di gen korang ge zi jana de ma dreshe jaro chedas
지자던 단계가 잠깐때서기와
the kinetic energy ge de doa tanda di angzi ma jada de
단데 대강강 지자던 라기에
di gang de ga tanda di
단데 W 트샤주디 단데 겔 트샤주디야
nishi zabshi le so la 24 le dan
okay. He is asking some of them some of the students are confused or not clear with the calculation on the earlier
Oh, on the
slide.
previous.
Yes, can you show how?
So, okay, so I skipped that middle step there. I can write that out. So it's 1/2 times the mass, which is 3 kilograms.
Mm-hmm.
And when you square the 4 here, we get that this will be 16 inside of here, and it'll be meters squared per second squared if we're keeping track of the units.
Mm-hmm.
So then
고름 지게 단계 지어마로 데 값은 아수다 마치 바이만에 제가 제순데지 아니 시게 다 란주ton 치고라 란주ton 치바니 시시라 줄고라 시시게 주두차고라 아니 란주테게 지시라 란주티고라 미트게 란주ton테 그차가 란주ton 고주디리스시.
And I find it easier here to the next step of having the 1/2 apply to the 16 just because it's an even number.
아하. 체가티스 다니 고고라 체가티 주tuk라야 베초탄샤나 니탑디와 두스 칼칠라바이다 아니 주tuk티 차탄샤비어와.
So then that yields 3 kilograms times the 8 meters squared per second squared.
다 단다기 주tuk티 니 고스나 체가티 주tuk라 주나제 차그와 nga sulaya sumti jela jur ani sishiti kilogram te meter range town te second range tang go shajur guyores.
So then the only two numbers I need to multiply is 3 times 8 to get the 24.
Ta tanda de kaus garanga juguya te sumta jeres sumje jur baina nistashres.
And the units are honestly a mess, and I just remember that kilograms meters squared per second squared is a joule.
Tandagi sishiti imbaina sishin plasochil hedesha simbaina ngarang rectangular esna kilogram te meter range tong lajur ani te second range tong go ko imbaina de joules sungbo pangya ko yes.
So hopefully that straightens it out. Okay.
That's what I said. Oh yes, clear.
Okay. All right. Okay. Just I'm glad to have the question. It's good. Okay. So yet another expression that we can say that work is equal to. Work here equals to the change in kinetic energy.
Tanda de kapsa de la yang asu leka te yang shenda chitan chonga se kije she yores leka kange to chongres na ani guchu niwa ge injura tang chongres.
And what were some of the other ones we had before? Work, we have the definition of work.
Ta leka se bi kapsa leka te asu shenda kange to chongres tambo te la asu leka ge ani ko ge cheni shak bi kapsa leka kari tan chongres.
And there was another sneaky one related to work and the change in just gravitational potential energy.
That DJ dim the shenda yang shenda jing yores leka te ani nga su ge tenshu ke te yor ka sa nitu gi ni batong chwa nitu gi ni bi jura tong chwa jing yores.
That one was work is equal to minus the change in potential energy. I could put the subscript G or leave it off because it relates to all potential energies.
Ta leka te kange to chongre sena tanda ge da de ola shabi gi tigirwa yi chunchin tege tenshu ke nitu ni ba ba che tenshu ke nitu gi jura ge ane ko dogma sigoro ada te ge dalola yo mutas jaba de tan chongre leka te.
We will hopefully see in a little bit here that we can combine these two together to yield a more fundamental idea about energy.
Ta tanda nga su ge tela ya leka se tela ya ko gen desha ja tang chane ro ko ge nyamchi mando khashi to ga ting na ne nyamchi tambo de da nyamchi nyo de peche tang de te ani nga su ge ga sa ji leka tang jeve ge ta mangshi ge ta trip ji ani mutu che la ta tang ins.
That's in a few minutes. Okay, so a work energy computation.
Tanda zoni ge ka su ge zoni tang jeve ge ani tanga chi chi ja ge ins.
So you push a crate across a floor with a force of 100 newtons, 10 meters, but it experiences friction of 70. Oh, I said 100 meters, 100 newtons, and it experiences friction of 70 newtons, though. How much kinetic energy is gained by the crate?
다 최랑기로와 아니 미트 주쟁기기 조타치기 셀라가 당니 있어 니 신드롬 지로 싱그소샤지고 롬지 아니 퇴쇼라야 슈 뉴트린 자페초 당데 담바자 당요레스로 이메나야 티캅스 신드롬 당 신드롬 티당 샬라 니가 바로로 조타기 샬라 니가 바로라야 아니 코라야 더슈지로다 더슈단 주메피게 더슈 뉴튼 든치지 아니 레비오레스 다 티가 갑텔라야 추릉게 슈 자페슈 당데 당 뉴튼 자페슈 당데 당 미트 줄라야 베자 당바인바이나 텔라야 가수 더시경 도와든 참바도 뉴튼 팀바이나 텔라야 상담 텔라야 아니 구축은 니바 같이 토요레스.
So the question is asking for us to compute the change in kinetic energy. That's all that we're asked to compute.
다 단단디게 값은 가수라야 지와데 가르치고요레 세나 아니 콜라야 디 값을 지야데 아니 신경 데라야 구축은 니바 같이 토비요레스도 되게 남동 파조셰 바이나 구축은 니바라야 아니 지와 같이 주도요레스. 어때레스?
Okay, so we should let you try to figure this out.
다 실질라데 지지하게 아니 단다 고케 페인스
I will try to sketch the box with the forces acting on it.
다 ngay 바이나 고 지자비 값으로와 아니 고 신감대 지로다 신감대 지 아니 되게 강라야 포신비 쉬요와 어디서 강라 지인스
This one's a little tricky.
대승 근육 보여레서 대 저대
Gendawa, cut the game, must the Yama ding one to watch down, so did the Chigoreve. card digi mass chira doseji.
Uh-huh.
The tiwang umad dinanglola mass chikte so di the chikbar reveal.
He is asking if the mass of this this card, this crate, is same as the one that's given in the previous question.
We do not know that.
Maris, ngiti hakuyo mga suti haku maris. I'm just giving them a hint that they may need to find out how to calculate without considering the mass.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Samja 300.
One saying the answer is 300.
300. Do we have any dissension?
300. 300.
Does anybody want to volunteer how they computed that?
Tanda chechu sumja lesson sigdwa sumja te kandas lesson te la yan deshe jani yoesa.
This is jengda ta digi me hamas.
Bajo jatamba nutun janane adarshi denjatamba the. Tene jir jatamba gajir. Te changla shikdela dara jangtha mujur che gajir de gangla samja.
Yeah, what they did is they find the net force on that crate at first, that is 100 minus 70, that's 30, and then that multiplied by the change distance, that is 10 meters, that got 300. That's the answer.
Great, that's the easy way to do it, because the hard way is to compute the work done by you minus the work done by friction. I love it.
Chesula raba de sumjatirwa or the peo chishas to go tap du goni chitaptires. Young Shenda Chichiva in Bina Karicha Resna, Chorangi Dripigi, Lekati Tambo Sirwa, Chorangi Dripigi Lekati Katsur Shata, and a Kugam Goshik Sir Drunuga Lekati Katsur data, anything on the Tamba in Bina decores. In Bina Tanda Choranga Deshajata de, and a co tap du de peados.
Yeah. Net force times the distance, or you do it the hard way, work done by you minus the work done by friction. I like it.
Chite Kadasa Resena, Sangshu de Aniko Janta de Jurt Hebachina decore, and it teleantis Gunyo Pasagora, Takali Kodo Tabaina, Nichoran Jebig Lekanani, and a Tenshu could so Matenshu Masada, there should could so Goshu could some correct to big any Legachora, the Tambatan Songres.
Yeah, and the top one is easier.
Yeah, Congadili Laurishas. Somebody says I did. I'm asking everybody clear. Is everybody clear?
I should have written here, or you could have done that.
Yeah, can you?
The formula vijatan lejoge. Azo dagi kinetic energy theshilado. Kinetic energy ki formula dekar janata ani chaga mass the speed square la gyure dire do ti ya yongdang ji ti ya khandi do china
Yeah, so can you show at the first place, because when you talk about change in kinetic energy, what they can, like what the first thing they come to mind is half mv squared, that formula, and can you show us what
actually by the definition you can't compute it that way in this case. because we don't know anything about the mass of the object, nor do we know anything about the initial speed nor the final speed of it. It's actually a case that we could not compute it out using that definition.
That under the capsi bana samlu tang baina natsugi nyamchi chigorwa half mv square sage tamagiti no tomati tanya chigorwa de natsugi ta pechu tang de tang de jaga kro yo maris kashi la baina natsu de kas dwese ha ku yo mari thomin nyursa ha ku yo mari thamin nyursa ha ku yo marwa tin stambal ya nyamchin di pechu tang di tanda de jaga yo maris.
And physics is sneaky like that you often don't have the information you need to make the solution via certain routes. You have to use all of these powers you have, or these tools you have, to solve it in a different way.
That land the chila ya chon the desamadu agniton in the chagi or is that dim by the beach by dinner is. The capsule chorangi tandagi nyamsin di page on the land jat kamaris. Things tambalaya, any Natsugi, deton joy or chugi, any nyamsi shenda karidu. Roa. Atanda Natsulo Kutrichi and the Tolatin deton nyamsi shenda karichi page on the tip page on the ton de la length of a chiburis.
And I just realized I have a subtle mistake in my mathematics. The negative sign between the work done by you and the work done by friction, that should actually be a plus sign because the work done by friction would be negative. Friction acts opposite the direction the object moves.
That de la nyamsi tribi kapsek ni de la ya chorangi leka chiju te ta ani darshu ki leka chiju parola ya tenta dogma ki ta chitrius mune tane ba dogma marsha te dom go dus karsila baina ani dus ta bai baina ro ko ge ni chorangi leka chiju te yeshula chodeyo ro re mare ani darshu ki leka chiju te ayunshula pa choda do ko ni ge kashote ko leka ge kashote doshol ba des tambalaya Koroniga kasho do batin stambalaya olaya dongu is this tambadilla not chonchon cheshas.
I know it's sad I couldn't answer the question, but sometimes you can't.
Tanda de pecheton by bana ko toate length het kyo maris tansamala land in the samijuni tantina youngres.
Was there anything else they wanted to cover here real quick?
That him the shenda in the US adela. Shenda the name Kasuma Chatua wrote in the US. It look like no.
Okay, all right. Feel free to ask anytime.
Try your panachisu katitana the
Okay, so the equations that I wrote out earlier leads to this idea of conservation of energy. And that is that work is equal to the change in kinetic energy, and work is equal to minus the change in potential energies.
That diganane kasugana gasu lekate ane ko lekate guchug nubagi jurata ane lekat chung guchug nubagi jurata songo yorida ya lekate ane gasu nitu nubagi juragi ane kandalola dogma tajaba de tan songo yores.
Energy, yeah, I've got it written out here. Energy is nature's way of keeping score. And we have found via experimentation that energy isn't created or destroyed. It only changes from one form into another.
뉴바티 katui ba na nyuba go chini ngo shenda chila junjur pa imbarwa na ti kapse nyubi gi domborti ani ko dombor sura chama dombi gi domborti katui na yan jemer chimba ngachu ni gores.
Yeah, let's see. The sometimes it might appear as though energy came from nowhere, but that's because we didn't quite consider our entire system properly.
Na ya cham la ya nyuba chiro ko lobor te chini certain chia do chita nana chini ngoy wa ta la ya nang de ores imba na ti gi kap te la ya ngachu ge ta nyuba te yong ge ta chi ma la ta ya na ko ge ma la ti cha chama chi la ngachu ngin jin chu ma thwa te ni res.
And from those equations earlier, I want to point out that since both of these are equal to work, we can set these two equations equal to each other.
Now that gala yang asu current deshe jayo res na lekati gangi de nichata chongu yoba chilen deshe jayo res. This tambalaya tandang asu ge nyamchin de nicha penchin chonga ya zushana degrees.
And keeping in mind that delta always means final minus initial.
Tanda de kapsa delta se ge sursum tan de ge kare katu imba na yang ko thama ge tangka te na ne thomi ge tangka te thengwa chongu res.
We have final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy equals minus final potential minus initial potential.
Tanga chung guchu ni bi thama na ne thamin guchu ni ba na ne thomin guchu ni wa ti thamba ina e ani ngachu ge ti orwa nitu ge ni ba thama ge na ne thoma ti thembi ge tokma tan song res.
But we can distribute this negative sign across on these potential energies and rewrite it as minus final plus initial.
Ta tanda de kapsa ngachu ge karsugre nitu ge ni ba ti ge danola ye tokma ta sidwa ti kuran cha pe shetang ba ba na ani ta ti cha ge des ani karsa thame ge nitu ge ni ba ti ge takti tokma je ni ti ga ta le thme ni ti ni wa dom ba tan res.
Now I don't have much room here. I'm going to continue the equation underneath the Tibetan there.
Tanda ti wote la metu te trigins.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the final potential energy to the other side.
Tanga chu thami ge ti chi to ka karsa nitu ni ba chi da ti phajo sala ya tangins.
So that gives me trying to erase that mark, gives me the final kinetic plus the final potential. I still have minus the initial kinetic on that side. I haven't moved it yet. That this equals the initial potential.
Ta tanda nga chu ge thami ge nitu ni ba ti initial sala tang ba na ani nga chu kare ra gre se na thami guchu ni ba ti nga te le thami ge nitu ni ba ti tom ti na ne ani thome ge guchu ni ba ti tham ba na ani thome ge nitu ge ni ba tang chong yo ba te le tan yes.
Then all I'm going to do is move this initial kinetic, which is negative, I'll add it to the other side.
That thome ge guchu ge ni ba de ge la ya toma ge ta do ate nga chu ge nyam tsi ge yesho sa pa tang ge yes.
I just saw something pop up in the chat, but I didn't see it. I'm not sure if it was directed for me.
Yes.
I'll take a look in just a second. So then we have final kinetic energy plus final potential energy equals initial kinetic plus initial potential.
Tanda de nga chu pha tang bai na yesho sa pha tang bai man tanda nga chu la thama ra te kari ra gore se na ani guchunyu thamin guchunyu ba gatle thamige nitunu ba domba bainati ani thumin guchunyu ba gala ya thumige nitunu ba domba ta chungyo res.
Am I not sharing that screen? I see Tenzin says to share the screen. It might be small. So. Sorry, you can. Okay, so then what we do for conservation of energy is we define the total energy for a system, which is a capital E. We define that as being the sums of all energies, kinetic plus potential.
Tadanga suga mala chila yopi ki nyuba cha chante karnar chiyongin chigresana ane nguchugu nyuba gala ya netugu nyuba domba chila chigres.
And so then that results in these expressions here as being Kf plus Uf is really the final energy, and Ki plus Ui, that is the initial energy.
Tata beshi shaba imbana ro nga suge ta KF na UF domju chiyo ro de ane thamigi kurangi nyuba gi domborte che ne Ki ga UI domju de imbana thumigi nyuba gi domborte res.
And so that is the mathematical statement of conservation of energy, in that the final energy equals the initial energy.
Tanda dika resa na nga suge nyuba nyer chala ya angzi lamni kari tungyo meteres. Ta dege thamigi nyuba te ane thumigi nyuba tang chungyo patangyo res.
I probably should have launched a whiteboard to write all that. Just felt like squeezing it in on the slide for conservation of energy. Okay, so this is, I'm not sure if you played with this morning in a lab, but it's an interactive that shows conservation of energy.
Tada chetsu shopagin zinda kapsa chetsu de peshetang yume hakuma son simbana de peshetang yona dege tang aso ani nyuba nyertsak tela ya ani ko gucho yago chunye ge pitsun chires.
It looks like I can't quite, okay, I think you can see it if I drag it over here. Right, I believe you can see that. Okay, I've lost the zoom. Hang on, there we go. So it turned out there's a Tibetan version of this. So I believe, I hope you can read this, because I can't. So we'll just play and look at this. And it involves a skater at a skate park. And we can click and move the skater around and have them ride on the ramps here.
And I
can turn on, this is telling you what some of the quantities mean, the various energies. I'm not sure. I think green might be kinetic energy.
Yes.
Blue might be potential energy, and red might be thermal energy.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Teginani Dambaimana, Teginani, Taco, Chanta Kashishtangudo, Tege, and Nita, Taku Nuba Karkar Cemeteries, Ta Janku Tigit under de la Guchuga Nivache, any Mombu Tege, Nitu Nivache, any Marpo Tigeko, any Trini, Saptug Niva, or Trini Tonguris.
And that might not make much sense until I turn on it's going to be a chart where there's going to be bars that will move depending upon how much energy the skateboarder has.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that under the capsule so media get Jibaina Roko Jibaina, Diga Capsa, and Nuvala Katsu and John Duman Luteres. Also on that a graph, the last one is not green, that is like a yellowish thing. I think
the yellow is going to be total energy. Total, it might say mechanical energy, and that's sometimes what we refer to as the total energy.
Da tanda de kapsi ti doa jablo la ya chi doa te jangkhor me dora sarpo ro chi doa sarshara chi tanda ni sherbi na ne shok sa te sarpo ti ge ku chondom gi ti chog de sha chondom gi ni ba.
So then you can see I've raised the skateboarder up and they have a little bit of potential energy.
Da ko chokshi lo ni ti ya cha bai bai na ko la ya ni tu ni ba ti stoas.
And this ramp is sort of imaginary in that there's no friction.
Da tanda de la ya ku chokshi lo sa ge sa cha de ani nga so chi ga tesa tunjuk ke shaba chi ka ta nga su ga samlu na ne ta chi ta pa cham chi ba ka shi la de kap se ani de ngwe la ya nga su ga ngoshi ta da shi ke me pa chi la ni chi gi yes.
So what I'm going to do is release the skateboarder and let them go, and we can see the interchange between kinetic energy, potential energy and kinetic energy.
Tada dini choshi lo ni tin do ane ku gang ni lo gi chi ins ro te kap se ni che su kare thong kore se na ku gi gang la yo pi ta ku gang la yo pi gi ni pa na ne gu chu gi ni pa ta ane ni ti gi ni pa ro la yan jwa ka na do me ti thong kore es.
There's a pie chart above his head as well that shows the amount of kinetic versus potential energies.
Tanda ta ko choshi lo ni te ga ta ko sindri lo ni te ge ane ku go la ya te chi do nga su ga gormu ge yebla ton bi ta pie chart chi do wa ko tik ke chi do te na na ko chancha te ge ne guchu ni ba ta ni tu ni ba ge ta ja cha ka su sem ti teng do.
What's more fun is dropping them up from pyre.
Ta tele ko pe ti thoshi te thoshi te ni lo pa ba na tele da ko tanga thwa te wa su to do wa tele tu ni dem ba yores.
And if we wanted to, we could turn on a speedometer and it drops to 0 at the tops because no kinetic energy at the tops.
Ta da de kap se ko ge nga su gun jok se ge chi ta ge yu chi ti sinan ko res ko ta zela le stambala ro ko ge tan do sa te ge zela le stambala ya ko le kor chag do as ka chla ba na ya zela le stambala ko ge jok se te le kor chag la was.
So an interesting question is, what will happen if I release the skateboarder from up here?
Ta jwa de ka res na ke te ta chashi lo ni te ya to sa to chi na lo sha na ka ri chong sa res. Khabar ta len jana di re ya.
It's going out for other side. Red.
Oh. Ko pa jo sa ne sa do res.
Then you can see after the skateboarder goes down and launches, then the thermal energy occurs because the collision caused vibrations and heated up the skateboard and all that.
Ta de la ko big on the cholo tham bi kap se wa cholo na chong bi kap se ni de la nga so ge tu ni ti ora cha tu ni ba ti tang do was ta de ka la na ko ta de na pa chong sta ba lo ko dab ko yo ra dab wala te ni de te ane ko ta nga so ge ti ngo ti tu ni la jir gres.
Will the same thing happen if I release from right here?
Ta ke ti do ni lo pa in ba na ta cholo chong do chi wa cholo la sa do chi wa te chong sa ro is. Ko yang se shlo hon sa ro yesa. Shlo hon sa ro yesa.
To other side of the end.
Kare?
Stay on or go off?
chilo thong kore se
Sujo di ze de sare ko. Pe de sado che sa mo de sa.
Yeah, one side it will fall out, one side it will stay just about to fall out. Come back.
दर्शी में
Yeah.
Just a little, just too much, just too much.
Yeah, one saying that is because there's no friction, so it's
Yeah.
go.
And good recovery. Yeah.
The shoe may bullet is a pay out to stop. This you type by your final do rest.
There's others. Let me see. This one might be with friction. Let me see.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's with friction. I can turn on the chart. So you can see the heat builds up. Maybe I'll just do it up top. Oh, wait, play.
Tada day cups ko the YouTube cups redua. There's you pick ups redua. There's you pick ups in banana day cups and a cool Trinity and Corisimas.
And I don't think this is programmed to allow the heat to radiate away and slowly cool back off.
The day la te by na cookie that you take on the longer Juzu Zoo in Stavalaya, and the Trinity Kasu but the Yopado, but that Trinity in redemption the Yechi for Tamuchai and the Tanti got them loose.
So we could run the experiment. It probably depends how much friction there is. So yeah.
That Gani, you had the Yanchanga to do this, and they got so cool Cadilla rally this, and I call it the shooting cut so you may tell around this.
This one allows you to build your own track, I believe. You can do whatever you want, but something for you to play with. I believe your lab instructors have the link.
So Tanda somebody comes in Banachoranga that Drosa Chosha Losage at Amkachura, the Choranga Kanda Zozo Zona de Koreas. Nishizuge, any Tela Tanda Sanesatula Tinigi, any Galasio, Kutsuchi to Kutsula Tanda de Chichisagi, Tanda de Tajagi, Tatach to what the Kusula Yores.
Okay, we'll get back to the lecture. Okay, so kind of a question to discuss that if you're designing a roller coaster, one classmate says that each summit must be lower than the previous one, and someone else says it doesn't matter as long as the first summit is highest. What do you say?
That and that's just a trudge is Tikare and a chorangi tanda chondrigo colus, chondrigo colo, dinado drag, colu, tinado chorange, and it tinado zuko colan, zentan on it to the chigio. So that zentragin zentrosiga carisagorasana, and that Tanda dinado which you could reach bazuko chepa in baina, and it chigata. Toma could turn such a rati to she in Gugures, and it tigi Carsagore. The Carsa Tomagi Tonsatinita, Remission to Mancorta, New Asma, Shuatina, which you drove by now, Kogis, Zimotic answer, Guramishinta, Mau Chaguyores. This are Guramishinta, Chima Duguyores, Labiores. And a Loprojenski Carisagores, and a teacher your maris, Katie Tamputi to she in baina, Tigi Jabgate Sama. Ane koge thumelaya tamputi karsa tege jabuti kanza chima drugwa yo maris ta tangshu ti thumbu yo na dukyo re lapsos and this nambalaya choranga delaya ane karila ge imbes choranga karisam gudus
tambo dires
yeah one person agrees with the first classmate. I said that each summit must be lower than the first one.
So they believe that it has to look like this one.
Yeah, the one, just one monk. Yeah, tanda dinner dochi Google some was her. Shenda konsa shemba dinda yoy. Any other ideas or comment?
We couldn't build it this way. The top is way up there.
It's going to, okay. Going to the left side, right?
Yeah, yes. Backwards from books. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, tandagirwa. Lopchi tangpo tegi samla tangtang imbai na ko relation to chima dugar sakorwa. Anta
Now we can choose the other way.
dinner do chiri doga. Lopchi tangpo tegi samla tangtang de. Chimo relation to ko chima dugu yores.
Oh, I had friction on. Oh.
Tanda ko darshi yo pick up
No.
simban.
Is it that? Oh, that's just slow-mo. I don't know how to turn off friction on this.
The on the right side, the first on the the above, that the above one is, or that one is you need to turn that on to the left. Yes.
Oh, I've got it on slow-mo. We don't need it super slow.
Whoa.
It's a little bit unrealistic, honestly, I must admit.
Kanda gen chiketa data do Google sonro ani teta ya matham ba jenda tinda yo.
But could we? Whoops. I might have shifted everything out of view and now I can't see it all. Oh no. Ooh. I don't know. Was that it? We're only getting one response?
Tanda geshe lagi tanda de tampo de resung do ga ne shenda ye chu samsung mando de ne yo sa.
Mute.
Sonda gela.
Thama di tangbo dille thua me na ma yong chog mares.
Kashine.
Tangbo gi nyoba jero.
Alright. Yeah, one thing's the last one need to be higher than the first one.
Oh, it might depend what kind of roller coaster they're talking about.
Yeah.
That could be the ones where you go out, up, and then you come back. That's what would happen.
Yang ko dina do imbana san samala tanda ke chondo kholo din bana ko phando do ya phale bata yang sit swim ga chorwa ho ya dina do ya netan tinda yo growas.
There are some that do that.
Do we need to consider the friction in this case?
It's up to them. If they want to consider the friction, then technically the answers are slightly different.
Rata tanda de kapsa nga tsugi yang de goshi saga darshi de la sanu ma tang ke de yang darshi la ya samlu tang bi wan tang bai na darshi ta ya goshi de la ya samlu tang bi wan tang bai na yang ko length this mando le gres. Na gonse jemba de yo.
지만이디 라빈도 총총지서 디잡도라 그 당보고 든지랑 보잖아 강도 사마레스 다 당보고 토마데 도라 이 바로 그 통통지전에 드네 양실 토마가 디냠바지나 이 강도 사마레스
His thought is that if we have like a starting point higher and then go to a lower tip, and then after that, if the next peak is same level as the first one, it won't go on to the other side.
It only depends how much energy it might have lost via friction in going from the highest to the next one. If it didn't lose that difference, it can still make it over the next hill, because when it goes over, it wouldn't be stationary, it would have speed. So it would have kinetic plus the potential at that first hill.
Tanda di kapsa tiya karela raglegres na dela raglegres ta ngachung goshi ka choyo mechila raglegres ta darshu ro goshi de friction dirwa ta di kapsa ge darshu ti la raglegres ta keti darshu ti shu me pa imba na ta tampo ti ne ko amawa ti la drubi kapsa ane ko ganda ya ngachung gochu ne ba ta ne ti nyu nyu yorwa Otila tende de ko ta sambati thuba ta tangpu ti ta nyamba china ti gechi dugres ke ti ta asuga darshila tende de newa te lagme paina.
It's kind of an interesting question. It really depends of what your perspective is. Usually you need the input of high energy to start with. That the first hill always has to be the highest, and after that it depends what energy losses there are, if any.
That theories tampu ko nito mambuchla rally yoris tanda de kapsim baina ko tampung good society da ko niwa thubo yo pa guachero ani tigi jabla ya ani ko ta kanda do chi yeme ta zuta kanda do chi temen sayati ani ko decision din da chibi kaps ko la niba kasuche la mala sa chwarwa hotela rally yoris.
Perhaps we should move to the next question, because it actually gives us a little bit more insight, the next one.
Yeah.
So this one asks you, you're given this roller coaster ride and you have different positions at A, B, C, D, E, and you want to rank these quantities of speed, kinetic energy, or potential energy. Assume that you start from rest at point A.
Ta tanda de kapse chechu go disu ta joati kapse chechu de pandi rochi iswa ta chishu ni chonshu par ta pandi rochi is ta tanda de kapse nga suge ne to ne A, B, C, D, E do ne re kapse ane kola ya jokse guchug nibache nitig nibache kare imente chetita ane rere ngone jokse toshi chishu kangere de chonshi kangere do part pandreche guchug niwa chishu ne chonshi che nitig niwa chishu ne chonshi to spandro ches ta tanda de kapse chichu kare chanjagore se tambalaya eni gutsupi kapse ane ku tampo ane guchug mepi mu gane ma gutsgachi gora tampo ane nyocha leko gane gutsupi balaya chanjochigu yes.
So we should take a few minutes to let everybody try to put these in order of largest to smallest.
Tadi chishuni chonshu parte ani pandroches.
If it helps, I would use notation like VA for the speed at A, maybe kinetic energy with a subscript C for the kinetic energy at C, and maybe D for the potential energy at D.
Ta yang chesuge ko shabi ruwa wo yigi chunchun tinda tunat kores wa kete charange ela yopi gi nyurseti imbana VA che ane bila yopane VBC to trigger wati na shinge guchog nibati sila yopate la ya KC che ane netig nibati ya dila yopa imbana UD che ora ti na shin ride tang data to stinad kores.
So which spot has the greatest speed?
Adarwa di kapse jokse chishutik kangela dos ne kola dos.
B na the years again B.
D.
Hello.
D. Ta darshi me na D res.
So I would write VD
Somebody
is
B,
greater
somebody
than.
D, somebody C, somebody E.
Somebody said E.
Ela nitu niwa U jatambaji.
Can you
K0
Chad, do you want them to just to have them arranged from the greatest to list?
Oh, so they've already arranged it. They've got the speeds in all the proper order already.
Oh yeah, they're saying some of them are saying E because like they are just ordering like from the largest to the smallest. That's why you heard E.
Okay, so they were ordering them already. So it would be, I'm guessing they've got the answers for that one. So VD, then B, then C, then E. So that would be the speeds.
I think the largest will be B.
B would be the largest.
먼저 쟤는 B래시 B. B 당보드 쟤. 되네 D 쟤. 되네 C.
다라.
We would say B is the most speedest, fastest.
And
then
they're probably
D.
incorporating friction. If they said B, maybe let's neglect friction.
B sabi kapsa chichina chetsuga darshuti tsigi uchre standard kapsa ngapsuga darshuti mapadosmetangins.
Often roller coasters are designed to minimize friction.
Dandang ngapsuga ta chondrugo kolo tidado imbana chigu kusuga zukochi kapsa ani darshuti hachang nyonyo zuela tapsitang yoresta de kapsa darshima patsina. Biri senyi ye.
다라인.
Biri 먼저 있나?
나 지시죠 다라인.
One group.
이 드레스 마르스소지도 디 동보가르스나 아니 비디사라 아니 C 아니 D 이신 포르진 타로 아니 조세 세오란 조세 소디 디사
Yeah.
동보토제 디 비치 디니 C.
Another one said the B is greatest, and then C and D and E. Maris,
Nope.
Maris.
Yeah, the lowest will have the fastest.
That's it's a tire da. Take a sister Google Stansher, Bire Senira, Google Stansher, that they lay some Tanda Gila Len Jagador. A Mashu in Bana, Jose Chishu to your race. That under the cups gele tampo shati kasa BCD resati kapsa masu de kapsa darshi mai patsi shagos goshi to mai palatsi shagins. Do you want to go for the next one? Kinetic energy.
Okay. See, yeah. So if it sounds like there was still some confusion on the speed, they probably have an easy time with the kinetic energy of these locations.
That's just tanda Jose ganla chesula dile shaswa. This good this not the shas. Chichene chesu guchu niva tabu kapsa tabdi uchon yosari yochi res. And then guchu niva pandina karalo isare.
Jokse B dan D insari. D yoksho insar da darshu mena.
Re laso.
The netu nubar. D. Ye da netu nubar che. The yoks the B dan D nan da D di feze yokse insar.
Yeah, they.
And guju nubar da feze dene di paru dilada. Guju nubar.
He's saying that the speed is greatest at point D, and that is a point to the next one. The J de la chesuga. Then Guchu Nuba Pontic by now, Guchu New Cheshi the collar do, Chonshi the collar do the Chisonsta.
D B C E A.
For
Ye da guju nubar mendwa. Ye ne da gutsu de da guju nubar chungshu rajre.
they're saying for the kinetic energy, K, D, B, C, E, and A.
Yeah, and that's true. It matches the speeds exactly because kinetic energy is 1/2 mv squared. So the kinetic energy is the same as the speeds.
Tandagi and Netu Nuba Kitchen Tambalaya and Netu Nubating Asuge Degi Chekate, the Sada Jerting, Nutseg Rangeton like Juguyorwa, this Tambalaya, and in Nutsegi Chechonta, and it's what Chichan de Grace, Nutsegi, and then also Pondigach or Chishin Chonshu Pondigach or Tinanshi, and natsuge guchu gi nibati ya pantaran ja degres.
So that leaves the potential energies.
Tegi jilal haju te karel hasha natsuge netig nibachi warwa. Netig nibati kanda inseres pandina.
A E C B D. 다 토쇼데 아니 D versus
고도죠, 고도죠.
A C E
고도죠 나도 가라.
A C E B D sir.
A E C
고도죠 나도 가라.
A E C B D.
A zero.
Che, do you agree with that?
Yes, very good. It's the opposite of the kinetic energy. Exactly.
Taranjares, niches yam to Kenichi, yes, Kashla Tanda, good Tanda native nibati, and a good native nibagi for Panditante, and a gucho nibagi Panditante toshores, to the Kutodores.
Yeah, which is conservation of energy. As you lose one energy, you gain the other, and they feed off of each other. Yeah.
Tanda data native niba and gucho niba capsim bana, de capsum as niba near Sa Latin de Gores, Niba Chila Pina, Niba Shenda de Mount Gores.
Okay, so now we change gears a little bit to discuss simple machines.
Tandanga su tene ani joshi joja de tinga su tabdig tichi promoter chigins.
These are simply devices that can actually multiply forces, but at an expense of distance, or they can also change the direction that a force is applied.
Tandinga suge tabdu yuchi bakanshila, ane koge likatsudo masona, ane lekati sugorata, lekati ge dabgi mount tanachuarwa, tinado chigayores, imbaina ya koge. That Tinado Likagi Nikate Dabge Prag Chetu and Asolaya Yanko expenses distance Lana Yang Jantakin Rosantango Resta Jantaran Puchigo Yopa number Timodua Chiti Resra Nibati Bina Yang Atsugi Karida Pechetangre Sena and Eko Shuishan Dachke and Kasho Juratana Yang Pechetangres.
And we'll neglect friction within these machines and loss of energy to thermal energy.
And the shooty and its metawata, neither she let any kuge a new ballad which go right, the answer against Mepando charge against.
And so all machines do is they take work in, a force and a distance, and then they have a work out, but the work in must equal the work out.
That teaching didn't know him by now. Kogi Nalaya, Lika Chinjuku, Stati shoot a Jantala Jugurua, the Nanshin, Cuba Nanshin, and a Shilola Yanko Lika Chalochinongu, the young Atsugi shoot a Jantaju, that and then Nikap de Laya, Nalola Jupi Lekati, Shilola Tumbi Lekatancha at Songu.
And this is only true for the assumption that we're neglecting friction. So we have work in is work out. That's also force times distance in, and force it equals force times distance out.
That under the absent as soon dinner which it's so I think Nathan Canada which can do a charge of what is Sena, Dashu Mebache, New Alak Mepa, which Gani, and Samlatangu. Is that team by Nako that Nalola Chupigi. Lekat Chilola Chupi Lekat Songuyo is that Nalola Chupi Lekate and a shoot Jantaka Jurbache and a Chilola Tumbi Lekate shoot a Jantaka Jura, what the Chilola Tumbi shoot Juratan Songuyo is.
So just writing it out a little bit in the notation there.
That other gonna decision to take Sapsing Wallets on bitches.
So one of the simple machines that exists is a lever.
Tati nane nga tsugo yuchi tabdi shu nane chi pitsun chi kares na nga tsugo dakchi la deres. Tsantsuma nga tsugo de la ya ta jashin la pichitang ro jashin sigwa kashige.
And so a lever involves something that can pivot on a fulcrum. The point that it's in contact is called the fulcrum.
Tatandage jashin baina kola ya ta kura jaksage ta tabuchi ro jagi ta tabuchi ro wa ku gang ta kura jaksage tachi ro sta de la ya jagi ta jashin ge tabuti sigores.
So you can do things that a force applied at the end over some distance can yield a different force on the other side over a different distance.
Da tanda ni chiki shone ro ta da chin de ge ni chiki shone ni chiki shone ro ane ko janta kansam chila ya shu jaba ba na tela tene de te ane ni shenda te shola ya ko janta chonsam chiki ta janta ngi chin chiki la ya shu ngi chin chiki yo res.
And so in this case, you can place a very heavy object on one side of this and lift it up. However, you're only going to lift it a small amount by applying a rather smaller force on the other side.
Ta dina do in bana che ne chi la ngi bo ka so ji ko chou chi sha ban bana zhe zhou cha ne shu chong chong chi ja ban na pa zhou cha le yang ko gu xiu chun chu chi tang grace.
And so hopefully you can see you apply a small force over here, but you have to move it a really large distance. And that results in moving probably a more massive object on this side, but only over a short distance.
Da zhe zhou cha de la ya chong ge xi nyong nyong chi je de de jiang ta de si ren bu chi la yang gu xue tang ban ban na ane pa zhou cha de la ya ne nyu bu ji ko chou chi yo ban ban na ya ko ge jiang ta chung chung xin gu xue tang de res.
Another type of simple machine is a pulley.
Da nga zu tab de ge chi xian de ji ga res na de res tanker res.
And I'm not sure if it was covered. I missed some of Dimple's talks, but when you apply a force along a rope, it's known as tension.
Ane tanda ke te chorang ge thapando kupando chi ga la ya shudus japan bana te la ya ane nga su chung shi se chi te bi res.
And so a pulley allows you to change the direction of the force that you are applying. In the instance here on the left, you can pull down on that rope, but that results in a force that'll be upwards on some massive object.
Da tege tanker tege kar chi res na chorang ge shu jab chu ge shu ki khasho la jo tang ko res picha shana di kap sim bana chorang ge thya de ma theng ge ro ma theng ge da ina ya nyu bu ji ko sau de gang la thebe ge shu de kha ya sho de ta kha ya cho de res.
And in that case, the force that you are exerting on the rope downwards will be exactly equal to the force exerted upwards on the mass. So there's no change in the force in that instance.
Da dina ro neta imbaina de shu la ya ko jwa de yo mar chorang ge shu la ya ta ka sa sang shu de yo mar chorang ge ma them bi ge kap su ge shu da ane ngubo de gang la ya kha ya sho pe ge shu ni cha chanyam ba cha res.
And one of the sneaky things about forces on ropes is that you can't apply a force to it without another force being applied to it. And so the tension in a rope actually acts in both directions at every single point along the rope.
Ta da nga so thapa chi ba na thapa se te pe cancel yo res ro thapa te ga te le ya ane shu jenda chi pho me pi kap se chorang te ga shi tensa du ma res. Thapa ga la ya shu ja system la shu ni chi mu chi ka sho do pa ga la ya ka tu na theng gu yo res. Dan di ge kap se ba na ta thapa de ga la ko pa de ga la chong shi chi yo ro chong shi de ka tu ba na ni re la ya chong shi de ka do de ten ko yo res.
The instance on the right is slightly different in the way the rope is set up on the pulley. Actually, the rope's set up the same way, but note where the mass is. It's in a different location.
단다게 리무이 쇼사게 데이터 바인바이나 아니 거기 다 탑하게 지금 탑한다고 직발다 인바이나 양 디가 값을 마속에 디세티 값사 데이터다 티 만도레스.
So the interesting thing about this scenario is that you apply a force to the rope, and that's the tension along the rope. And what it does is it results, you are pulling up on the rope over here, and it turns out the rope on the other side of the pulley is also pulling up as well.
단다디 값이 저런 게 쇼크 탑한테 야 탱기요레스. 아니 저런 게 정말 뭐 파주차게 탑한테야 주til라테네다 야 탱기요레스.
This results in two forces acting upwards, which yields a larger net force upwards.
다고 슈니 야 콜초여자 아니 그 장슈티 아니 this 치와 몽그레스.
And that force is going to be roughly equal to the weight of this object, but note the force that you end up applying to the rope is really half of the weight of the object.
다 슈티 니체 dom바인바이나 다 할람 뉴보테게 디세타 총고요 뉴보테게 지세타 총고요레스. 인바이나야 다 탑바 강라야 초런 거 시비 잡주데 아니 다 전동 거 시주로 장시 주로 야 탐비게 장슈티게 체카레스.
So this is a case where the pulley ends up multiplying the force, but what's the cost?
다 단다디 값이 바이나 단다게 탱커 되게 맞추고 슈티고 지체던 거 요레스 스펙 요레스. 인바이나야 디가 값을 맞추고 조선 가리건 조선 당고 요레스.
You can input half a force, double it, but
다 단다처럼 게 될라야 남주게 슈티 체크스 당바이나야 그런 거 다치 담하게 줄어도에게 슈티 더게 퍼대 요레스. 인바이나 디 값을 맞추고 가서 다 젠다 지금 조선 당고 요로와. 어떻게 가리스?
not sure if anybody knows the price you have to pay. You have to pull the rope.
세주기 누가 땅매도 에너지 마살게 에너지 땅거라. So
he said energy that you use to pull the rope.
You would still do the same amount of energy because the force times distance would equal to the increase in potential energy of the weight. Actually, a little bit on the pulley as well. So I guess it does increase a little bit the energy. The distance you have to pull the rope is going to be twice as far. Which isn't too bad of a price to pay if you have to lift something really heavy that you might not have been able to lift to begin with. Okay, and well, I see we're out of time. Maybe I should not press my luck because I know it's later there than where I am.
Yeah.
So maybe we should just stop and just, if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to stay. But if we're done, we're done.
Yeah. 아니 게테 양 도와도 진유 바이나 야 대구나 아니 길라질라 데기스 아니 Tirangol Homsen to Strupa Yens, that Telape Chuchadero. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. If not, I think it's just a handful of slides. I could pick this up next time, or
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. For tomorrow, yeah, briefly.